everybody. So Sarah and I are here today and we decided we wanted to do a book vlog. And I thought, day before Halloween, why not do a Halloween themed book vlog? Spooky. I found a bunch of questions and we were going to answer them for you. So our first question is, what is the scariest book you've ever read? So I'm going to go first. The scariest book I've ever read is Stephen King's It. This book is really scary, but it's also really good. I think I read it the first time when I was about 13 years old, and it gave me the worst nightmares, but I could not stop reading. So, and I've probably read it at least a dozen times since, and it is just one of my all-time favorite books, as well as the scariest book I've ever read.
You're like the opposite of me. If I started doing me nightmares, I would have stopped reading it.
I can't stop. I enjoy the nightmares, I guess. I'm weird. But, yeah, it's also one of the best books that I ever read because it's the first book that, like, I was just a little bit blown away by the ability of one person to have this much stuff in his head. Like, how does a person come up? It was like, it's the entire history of Derry, Maine, and it's like, how did one person have that much in his head? It's amazing. Read it.
Okay. Mine is also by Stephen King, The Shining. It's also the only horror book I've ever read straight through. That's probably the only reason I put it on this list. It wasn't actually all that scary to me. I just feel like...
Second question is, what is the scariest moment in a book that you've read? And for me, I'm going to have to go with Unwind. And I don't know, this book is fairly new, I think. Maybe a couple years old. Well, newer than it. But anyway, the premise of this book is kind of strange, which is why I wanted to read it, because I like things that are strange. But this book is about sort of a what if abortion were outlawed, but you could have your children unwound when they turn 13, or after they've turned 13, so between the ages of 13 and 18. So basically when they're aggravating teenagers. And if you don't appreciate their company anymore, you can have them unwound, which is the most disturbing thing ever. And there's a scene in the book where a character is unwound, and it was just about the worst thing I've ever read. It made me shudder as I was reading it, and I thought about it in my head for weeks after. It is bizarre and scary. And basically to be unwound is to have every organ of your body and your limbs and your brain and your eyes and everything removed while you're still alive, so that they could be used as like transplants. And you know, if you lose a limb in an accident, you could just have some unwound kid's arm stuck to your body. But the idea is you're not really killing them. They're not being aborted or murdered. They are being given life in other ways,
They're
which
not
is
being
still
murdered.
Bizarre and creepy. Like I said, this book is weird.
They're mutilated alive, but they're not murdered.
Yeah, it's just really weird and creepy. And yeah, that's probably the scariest thing I've ever read. And a scary scene in a book.
Like, after that, I don't think it's counted as scary. Spoiler alert for Harry Potter. So the end of this book, when Voldemort is risen and Cedric Diggory is killed, and then suddenly the entire series goes from happy and silly to really, really dark.
Yep.
Happy at the end of the last book, but dark. I keep hitting this book. Sorry.
Don't do that. Be nice to books. So, okay. Our next question is, have you ever dressed up as a book character for Halloween? And yes, we both have.
Yep.
One year I dressed as Professor Trelawney.
It looked nothing like her.
Yeah, I'll
It's
show you the
terrible.
picture. It's not good. I worked with what I had in my house because it was a last minute costume decision.
For multiple years, I was Hermione for Halloween. After a while, I got sick of that costume, so I stopped being
And
her.
you outgrew it.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know
also
that you
got
could
too
wear it
big for
anymore.
it. But
It happens. You were so cute when you were Hermione. We would braid her hair and make it all crazy. So cute. What would your favorite character dress as for Halloween? My favorite book character is Arya Stark, and I think she's got better things to do with her time than worry about a costume. She's on her vengeance mission, and honestly, spoiler alert, sorry, I think she'd take on another face, because she can. I think she would just be somebody else. What's yours?
Alright. This is a weird question, and I'm not really entirely sure how to answer it, but what's that fan art of Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist, dressed as a vampire for Halloween, so I guess that counts. See, I can't tell if it was fan art or if it was actual official armor from Hiromu Arakawa. I couldn't tell.
No idea what you're talking about, so I guess I can't answer. Okay.
I think she might have drawn it. If she drew it, then it wasn't fan art, but I can't remember.
Okay. Next question is, what is your favorite type of horror? I guess I would say fantastical. I like vampires. I like werewolves. I like horror that is very much not going to happen to me. I like things that are very, like, ridiculous and can't really ever happen, like The Evil Dead and Cabin in the Woods and stuff like that, where I know that I am safe in my house. I don't like when something is like, it could actually happen, because then I start thinking, oh my god, I can't ever be alone ever.
Well, even if it is fantastical, if you're like awake in the middle of the night, anything could feel real.
Maybe for you.
Sorry, I have trouble sleeping sometimes.
I'm teasing, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been there. Okay, so if books were as cheap as candy, what book would you give out to trick-or-treaters? That's a weird question too, but I love giving books to people because I like people to read. So I would say for very young children, I would give out Frankenstein, a monstrous parody. These books, there's a couple in the series and they're really cute. I think we have Goodnight Goon, and we also have Runaway Mummy.
Yeah.
And we just got this one, I think, last year, Frankenstein, and this is like a Madeline parody, and they're really cute.
Is that the one where they all lose their heads?
I think they do. So that's a really cute one. And for slightly older children that I would like to disturb, I would give them The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman.
You're a very loving, caring person.
I do care. And this book is really fun and creepy, but not scary, I guess. Although I guess there's some pretty disturbing elements.
It's not Coraline.
No. Well, it's not Coraline. I haven't read Coraline. I scarred her for life with Coraline. But I have not actually read it yet.
But it's a children's book.
She can't even look at things that have button eyes ever again.
Oh, let's see, are you so?
Next question. What is on your Halloween TBR list? And
Mother, you keep skipping me.
did I skip you? You
Twice.
thought you were done talking. Well, go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry. I did not mean to interrupt, but you dramatically paused, and I assumed you were done.
Well, I was going to answer the question. If I was going to give out books instead of candy, I would give out Berenstain Bear books.
You're right. I did skip you. I'm so sorry.
I'm so
In my
sorry.
brain, you already answered. I don't know how this
What
happened.
did I answer it with?
I don't know.
Invisibooks. Books you can't even see.
I'm sorry. What else did I skip you for?
Well, you didn't let me answer a favorite type of horror.
You were agreeing with me.
Fine.
I assumed that was your answer. I'm sorry. Do you have a different answer?
Not really.
Okay then. Moving back to the question, what is on your Halloween TBR list? I'm going to let you go first so I don't skip you.
Okay. Well, on my TBR list, I've got 2 books that she recommended me to read. I've got a very ancient-looking Stephen King book. Skeleton Crew. It looks very dead because I lost its front cover.
So sad.
And it's a book of his
I
short
love you
stories.
anyway. It's a good book.
And I think it's one with the guy who eats himself, so that sounds fun.
That's not something you should announce
Does
to
that
people.
count?
There's a guy who eats himself.
Does that count as cannibalism if you eat it yourself?
I don't know, Sarah. I guess if you're eating a human, it's cannibalism, which is frowned upon in most societies.
Evil food eater, ta-da! Okay, sorry. The song. I love that song.
Move on.
Eats every object in her palace, every servant, and then, when she's like all alone, she eats herself. Plus, he wants to taste every flavor in the entire world.
I think this just took the most disturbing of turns ever. Back to the question, TBR list.
And another Stephen King book, The Stand.
If you hadn't noticed, I'm a Stephen King fan. Speaking of which, ba-bam. Here's my TBR. It's, I'm actually in the middle of it. It's Stephen King's Just After Sunset. It's his newest, or not newest, but newer short story collection that I hadn't read yet. So I'm reading that right now. It's good. I mean, it's Stephen King's short stories are all weird. They go from very philosophical and, you know, thought-provoking to just bizarre eating yourself. So, yeah, they run the gamut. Okay, and the last question is recommend some Halloween reads. So I'm going to go ahead and say that most of the books we've just mentioned, we recommend. And I'll throw in one more. This is Joe Hill's Heart-Shaped Box. And if you haven't read Joe Hill, go and get yourself a book because they're all good. I think I've read almost all of them. I haven't read his short stories yet, but I've read Heart-Shaped Box. I've read Horns, which is so good and bizarre and weird, and I loved it. I've also read Nosferatu, which is really, really weird too. He's a weird guy. I mean, I guess when you're raised by Stephen King, you can't help but be a little weird. And it makes me a little jealous that I was not too raised by Stephen King, though I think I kind of was, because I grew up on his books. So I guess that's what makes me so weird.
Help us. Help us, please.
Okay, so that is our Halloween book tag, and if you want to play along, please do. We'd love for you to jump in and answer the questions, too.
We're going to put the questions in the description below so that you can see them.
Awesome. So thanks for watching, and please, if you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe. We would appreciate it.
Subscribe!
Thanks. See you later. Happy Halloween.